Hello everyone, I am Ram Krishna from Deoghar IS Academy. Hope you are all doing great. In the last session, we had discussed about active and passive voices. So before carrying on with our session on active and passive voices, first of all we would like to just discuss a bit what we had learned in our last class. So today we are just going to have a basic idea about what exactly is active and passive voice, and then we will get on with the questions. So now let's start with the basics. So when we talk about active and passive voices, what are these exactly that we are referring to? Active and passive voices are basically, it's a verb which is either in an active voice or in passive voice. So if once I write down the structure of an active voice sentence and a passive voice sentence, then you will get to know of it. So active voice structure goes like this. It is subject plus verb plus object. That's what we discussed in the last class. It's nothing but subject plus verb plus object. That's what is an active voice. Now when we talk about passive voice, the structure goes like this. Object plus helping verb plus V3 plus by plus subject. So that's the whole structure. That's the whole structure of a passive voice sentence. Active voice is subject plus verb plus object, and passive voice is object plus helping verb, and this helping verbs tense depends upon the tense of the verb in active voice. Helping verb plus V3 plus by plus subject. So this was all the basic that we had discussed in the last class. So now today we will get on with the questions, and with these questions we will get to build our concepts a bit better. Now again let's have a look at the question number 6. We had already discussed question number 1 to 5 in our last class. So in this sentence, if we can read the sentence, it says Jane wrote this beautiful poem. Here the verb is in active voice, we have to convert it in the passive voice. So Jane wrote this beautiful poem. This is past tense, wrote is past tense, this is V2 form of verb. Now we have to convert this into passive voice. So let me write down the passive voice. This beautiful poem was written by Jane. Now in the basics we had already discussed about the structure of an active voice sentence. So now when we see Jane wrote this beautiful poem, Jane is the subject in this sentence, wrote is the verb which is V2 form of verb, past tense. this beautiful poem happens to be the object of the sentence. So, subject plus V2 plus object, subject or verb plus object, the sentence is in active voice form. Now, when we talk about the answer, this beautiful poem was written by Jane. In this sentence, we can see that the object becomes the subject in this sentence, object plus this beautiful poem was. Now, this was is nothing but the helping verb. Written is the V3 form of verb. Wrote here, which is V2 form. This becomes V3 form of the verb. Written by, it has to be there just by the rule which we follow in an active voice sentence, by Jane. Now, Jane, which was the subject in the active voice, it becomes object in the passive voice form. So, again the structure goes like this: object plus helping verb, which becomes was. Was is here just because the verb in the active voice is in past tense. So, here helping verb will be in past tense, which is was, plus written, this is V3 form of verb, which is past participle, and by, it has to be there by the rule, and Jane, the subject becomes the object over here. So, it becomes like, it goes like this: object plus helping verb plus V3 plus by plus subject. So, if we apply this rule, any type of question that comes like this, just so as to convert sentence from active voice to passive voice, we can solve it with ease. So, we just have to keep in mind the basic rule. Now, get into the next question. The car mechanic changed the flat tire. Again, I would like to highlight one important point. In any of the sentence, first and foremost thing, we have to identify the verb. What is the form of the verb? By rule, any form of verb in active voice, it has to be converted into V3 form, which is the past participle form. When we speak about V3 form of verb, you have to understand that there are three forms of verb: V1, V2 and V3. V1 is the present tense, V2 is the past tense, and V3 is the past participle form of verb. When we say go, went, gone, go is the present tense, past tense is went, and gone is the past participle form, which is the V3 form. So, that V3 form of verb has to be there by rule when we convert a sentence from active voice to passive voice. So, now in this sentence, we can clearly identify that the verb is in past tense. This is V2 form of verb. Past tense is the V2 form of verb, present tense is the V1 form of verb, and past participle is the V3 form of verb. I hope you are all getting this. Now, again, the car mechanic changed the flat tire. In this, it goes like this: the flat tire was changed by the car mechanic. It's very simple. We have just applied the rule that we had discussed. Now see, the flat tire was changed by the car mechanic. Here the object becomes the subject here, V2 form of verb becomes V3 form of verb, which is changed, and the subject of the sentence becomes the object in passive voice. And now again, important thing that we have to keep in mind always, it is the helping verb, and that's where students make mistakes. We have to keep that in mind. Here when we say that, why we are using was? We are using was just because the verb in active voice is in past tense. So, here was has to be there by the rule, because the basic structure of a passive voice sentence is object plus helping verb plus V3 plus by plus subject. So, helping verb has to be there, and the tense of the helping verb depends upon the tense of the verb in active voice sentence. So, again let us see the next question. Getting back to the question number 8. Yeah, again this is a bit trickier, because in the first two sentences we had seen that the verb is in past tense, wrote was in past tense, changed was in past tense. Now, here the active voice verb is in future tense. It is actually future indefinite tense. This is actually future indefinite tense. So, now here what we can do, we just have to again apply the similar rule. First of all, let me write down the answer, then I will explain to you in detail. Here he is the subject, will clean is the verb in future indefinite tense, car is the object. So, in this sentence the answer will go like this: the car will be cleaned by him every Saturday. The car will be cleaned by him every Saturday. Now, how come this B has come over here? We just have to see. How is this B come over here? The car will be cleaned every Saturday. So, now again we have to apply the rule of future indefinite tense. When the verb in an active voice form is in future indefinite form, the helping verb be, the helping verb be, which is be, will be added along with the existing verb, and this normal verb, V1 verb, this will be changed into V3 form. V1 form will be changed into V3 form. Rest everything will be similar. Now, if I write down the structure of an verb in future indefinite tense, both the active and passive voice structure, then you will clearly understand, because the next problem also highlights the similar case, which is of future indefinite tense, so that you will be able to solve it. Now, active voice structure of a future indefinite tense. Future indefinite tense is going to be nothing but subject plus will or shall, subject plus will or shall plus V1 plus object, or it can be verb basic form, either V1 or verb in basic form, which is normally the present tense form. So, this will be subject plus will or shall plus verb in a basic form plus object. This is the structure of verb in active voice form. Now, when we write the passive voice form structure, it will go like this. The passive voice structure is object plus will or shall plus be plus V3 plus by plus subject. This is the structure. Object will be there, object will become the subject over here, will or shall, whatever that is being used in future indefinite tense, that will be there. Then be form of verb, this will be added as the helping verb in this sentence. Be has to be there because the basic structure of passive voice is similar, whatever may be the tense. So this is an example of future indefinite tense. So helping verb, since this is in future indefinite tense, helping verb be, that has to be added. Be is a be form of verb, and it is be, this has to be added plus V3 plus by plus subject. So this is the basic structure. Now getting back to the previous exercise, what I have written, the car will be cleaned by him every Saturday. The car will be cleaned by him every Saturday. Here car, the object over here, the car will be cleaned by him every Saturday. The car, the object, becomes the subject over here, no problem in this. Will, as it is, will be written. Be has to be added as the helping verb, will be cleaned. This V1 form of verb that I had already mentioned in the previous exercise, V1 form becomes V3 form, which is cleaned. The car will be cleaned by him every Saturday. So this goes like this. I hope there is no problem in this. Now getting back to the 9th question, again the verb is in similar form. Jack and I will complete the homeworks today. Here the verb is in future indefinite form. Similar concept will be applied over here. The answer will be the homeworks will be completed by Jack and I today. But it will sound nice to hear when we write today, comma, the homeworks will be completed by Jack and I. This is, little bit nice to hear. So the answer will go like this. Today the homeworks will be completed. It will be completed by Jack and I. Or it can be written by in this way also. The homeworks will be completed by Jack and I today. This is also another way of writing this, but it is better to write today first, comma, then the homeworks will be completed by Jack and I. Today the homeworks will be completed by Jack and I. Here basically we have to identify the main thing, which is what is the object, what is the subject, and what is the verb in the active voice form. Here the verb in the active voice form is nothing but future indefinite, and the homeworks is the object of the sentence. Jack and I both are subjects, and will complete is verb in future indefinite form. Future indefinite form. So, any verb in future indefinite form, the structure that I have already told you, the structure becomes object plus, if will is there, will has to be there because it's will over here. That's why I am writing will, otherwise will or shall both has to be there. Either of those which are mentioned, it has to be there. Object plus will plus be plus V3. V3 is nothing but the past participle form of verb or the third form of verb which we write as V3 form of verb. Now, complete becomes completed and V3 plus by plus subject, which is Jack and I. Today the homeworks will be completed by Jack and I. That has to be the answer. So, this has to be kept in mind always. Verb in future indefinite, you have to identify the subject of the sentence first, object of the sentence form, and most important of all, the thing that you have to always keep in mind while dealing with active and passive voices sentence is that you have to keep in mind in what form the verb is in an active voice, and accordingly you have to apply the helping verb and so on, because here the verb is in future indefinite tense. So, this helping verb be has to be added. In the first in the sixth question it is mentioned wrote. This is V2 form of verb or nothing but past tense form of verb. Wrote is past tense form of write. Write, wrote, written. So, this is V2. So, this will become V3, but the helping verb which goes with the V2 form of verb is was. Similarly, in the question number 9th, this is future indefinite form of verb will complete. So, in this the helping verb that will go with it is be, be. Be is nothing, is, am, are, was, were, be, all these are be form of verb which shows state or being. Now, getting back to the last question, and I think this is a bit trickier question, because this is also an example of future indefinite verb in a future indefinite tense, and which is in the active voice, and we have to convert it in passive voice form. But here will or shall is not mentioned, but still it is a verb in future indefinite form. So, we just have a look into the question first. My kids are going to watch, my kids are going to watch an action movie tonight. So, when we are going to when we read this question, it's similar. Something comes into our mind that this is an event which is going to happen tonight. That means it is an event which is going to happen in future. So, for if we talk about future, then the tense has to be in future indefinite form. So, here also are going is nothing but verb in future indefinite form. This has to be kept in mind, because this is a trickier question. In the competitive exams, I am sure that you are going to get questions like this only. Sometimes they will skip writing will or shall in the questions. They will give you questions like this: my kids are going to watch an action. They are going to watch. This is an event which is going to happen in future, and for future, and if we are talking about future events, definitely the verb is in future indefinite form, and so we have to apply the similar rule of a structure, and that is nothing but we have to follow the similar rule while converting this into passive voice. So, the structure of the sentence, the passive voice, it will go like this: an action movie is going I am just writing at the top so that it becomes visible. An action movie is, okay, it's visible down also. An action movie is going to be watched by my kids tonight. That's the correct answer of this. Now, I have written this answer is correct, and I am sure most of you will give the correct answer. But sometimes you are also, 8 out of 10 times you are correct, but 2 out of 10 times sometimes you are, you will be giving incorrect answers. The reason I am telling you is that, simply, by understanding we can give correct answer, but we have to follow the exact rules. And why exactly? Because here why exactly is going has been written instead of are. So all these things we have to keep in mind. Now when we look into this, an action movie is going to be watched. I have written. Now here it's mentioned my kids are going to watch an action movie tonight. First of all, we have to identify the verb. Are going, this is the future indefinite form of verb, and my kids is subject. Action movie is object of the sentence. Tonight, an action movie, tonight, we can say like this, an action movie is going to be watched by my kids tonight. An action movie is going to be watched by my kids tonight. Here, since we are using an action movie, here the object of the sentence becomes the subject as per the rule. Now, an action movie, since this is the subject is in singular form, that's why this are becomes is. Sometimes the student by mistake they are going to use are over here, but no, because here my kids, these are plural. So with this are has to be, the verb will also be plural, because the subject is in plural form. As per the subject verb agreement, verb has to agree with the number of the subject. So since the subject is in plural form, verb will be plural. But here in the answer, an action movie is going to be watched. In the answer, we have written an action movie is going to be watched. Is the helping verb in this sentence, and is written just because the subject in this sentence, which is an action movie, is in singular form. That's why we have used is. So an action movie is going to be watched. This V1 form, watched, becomes V3 form, watched by my kids. By, as per the rule, we all know, while converting a sentence from active to passive voice, it has to be by, watched by my kids tonight. So similarly, we have to follow these rules, and if we follow the basics of active and passive voice, we will definitely sail through any kind of exercises, whatever maybe the questions may be. And most important of all, we have to keep in mind the structure of the verb. Basically, what form of verb is in active voice form, and in keeping that in mind only, we have to apply the helping verb depending upon the tense of the verb in active voice form. So we just have to keep in mind these structures, this general structure of a passive voice verb, and we just have to analyze the active voice verb first, and then we can convert it accordingly. These are the basic rules that we have to follow. This was all for today. Thank you very much. See you again in the next session.